Okay, good afternoon. My name is Claudette Reed. I am an occupational therapist and I am the assistive technology consultant for Michigan Rehabilitation Services. And today I'm going to be talking about how to work smart with your smartphone. I was asked to do a presentation on this topic, but when I did earlier in the year, I did a survey of assistive technology needs of the VR counselors in MRS. And this apps and phone use was right up near the top. And so I know that it is something that a lot of people have questions about. So First, the things that we're going to be talking about, the types of smartphones, and also somewhat on other devices. In here, we're also going to talk a little about the state policy related to smartphones. We're going to look at the built-in accommodations within your iPhone through the state of Michigan, and then talk about the benefits and limitations of using apps as a job accommodation. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I will stop occasionally and to see if there are any questions and be able to answer those. And so just let me know. And there also should be some time at the end to be able to talk about any issues. So with that, we're going to get started. So there are two types of smartphones, smart devices, smartphones in the United States, iPhones and Androids. And Android is about 40% of the market share. iPhone is about 60. And that's been pretty consistent through 2009. So it has been a long time. It's interesting that by comparison, Windows PCs are about 60% of the US market share compared to 23% for Mac operating system computers. And that means that there's a lot of people who use Windows as their computer interface and iPhones as their smartphones. So it's no wonder that there's lots of questions about how iPhones actually work. And so Android is one that is the phone that uses the Android system, operating system by Google. There's many different manufacturers, many different models. The price point can be low or high, but we have a lot of options there. iPhones, these are, the company is Apple. They have one operating system, the iOS. And it's interesting that that operating system is designed to be built one on top of the other. So you don't lose things where with Google, sometimes when they put in a new operating system, you might lose some things that you might have been used to. There are only a few models of iPhones at any given time, although there's a lot of different iPhones being used because people tend to hang on to their iPhones. So what's the right one to choose? As far as your client, it's going to make a difference what it is that your client needs. An iPhone is simpler and it's a more intuitive kind of an interface, where an Android phone offers more choices. You get how much you're going to spend, the kind of hardware and software features that are there, and how to organize and personalize the use of your phone. Now, with Android phones, there's more customization and flexibility in the way that the phone is set up, and there's more lower cost options for people. You can get third-party replacements for some of the core services like phone, text messaging, and music and video, so you don't have to use what comes on the phone. And it's a little easier to modify. Do-it-yourself upgrades and repairs are possible when you're talking about an Android phone. And connecting accessories are more universal because it has a phone jack, or you can use Bluetooth. And the USB-C plug is something that's used pretty broadly with lots of devices. The iPhone, by comparison, has consistent features across all of the Apple devices, the Mac, iPad, Apple Watch, so that it has a streamlined and simplified user interface. If you have used other Apple devices, an iPhone is going to be an easier one for you to be able to use. By the same token, if you haven't used other Apple devices, sometimes learning how to use an iPhone can be frustrating. They have a lot of continuity features so that work or data can be moved from one device to the other if you have other Apple devices. It doesn't necessarily work with the phone to other kinds of devices like your Windows computer. Someone once told me that Apple doesn't play well with Windows. Apple likes Apple and Windows likes Windows. And I think that that's probably true. Now, there are a lot more third-party apps, and they tend to be better apps for the Apple setup than for the Android. And there are more accessories that are available with the Apple phone. Because it's so popular, a lot of accessories have been made for it. It does have great privacy control, and it doesn't come with bloatware. I don't know if you've ever gotten an Android phone, and it has a lot of things that are already put into it, pre-installed, that you really don't need and you don't want. You have to figure it out and take some of that off. What you get on the Apple is the kinds of things that are their programs and that you can use. And it does have retail support in the Apple stores, the brick and mortar stores. And if you notice the ones in Michigan, they're all in urban areas. So it has great support face to face if you happen to be close to one of the Apple stores. Now, phones aren't the only kind of smart devices that your customers might benefit from. Smart watches also are something that we're seeing a lot, and they connect to your phone and they expand the phone's usefulness and they make it even more accessible. Now, the capacities on smartphones vary by model, but it can connect to the smartphone to provide notifications like text messages and, excuse me, it requires a smartphone for internet connectivity. It doesn't directly connect to the internet. It has a very small screen, and that's going to be an issue for people with low vision or people with literacy issues because the text on it is quite small. It's great for fitness and health tracking issues, and the input mechanisms can be by touch or by buttons, or you can even input through your smartphone. Now, tablets are another type of smart device, and they connect to the internet using Wi-Fi or a cellular contract, and that's for an additional cost. It is a standalone device, and it doesn't have to be connected to a phone, and it runs many of the same apps as a smartphone. It is better for reading or viewing media because of the much larger screen than you have on a phone. And so that's good for people who have low vision issues. And the input is through a touch screen or voice to text or Bluetooth keyboard can be connected to a tablet as well. And some tablets will allow you to input through the use of a stylus. It's really not designed or suited for a lot of intense productivity as far as generating documents and things like that. It's great for filling things out, but doing a lot of heavy work is probably you're looking at a full computer rather than a tablet. So there also is a difference between a cell phone and a smartphone. A cell phone is sometimes called a mobile phone. Is a phone that has the ability to make telephone calls and text messages, and that's pretty much it. It's a simpler sort of an interface. A smartphone is a more advanced device that has additional capacities besides telephone and texting, like internet browsing, email support, multimedia functionality. it's amazing when you think about what these phones can do, and how many different things that they're able to do now. And it's also important that you consider how the phone is paid for. The upfront cost of the device can be paid over time on a contract or all at once, and that tends to be a big chunk. But there's also an ongoing cost for the service to the phone. And so there's two options here as well. The prepaid phones, where you pay ahead of time and then use that amount of data, gives you a lot of flexibility. For some of your clients, it's good because it's cost controlled. You only pay for what you need. There's no credit check involved. The options as far as the devices that are available in prepaid phones are generally more basic, but you can also bring your own device and use a prepaid service with a phone that you may already have. Now, contract phones are the other way that you can pay for the service. And these kinds of contracts allow for the latest devices, and it's often at a much reduced upfront cost because they require you to be involved in that service for a given amount of time, a year, 2 years, something like that. They often bundle the services and have a commitment that is there, and there are penalties for early termination. Often there's a credit check, and your credit score can affect the terms of your contract or what you're going to be paying. And the cost of the phone is usually spread out over the duration of the contract, making it easier to afford some of those high-end devices. Certainly, how your clients are going to be paying for the service is an important part that you need to be bringing up when they're talking about needing to have a phone for a job-related accommodation. So the state iPhones are both a tool for you to use and something that you can use to demonstrate what is available to your clients as well. So typically, apps are downloaded from the Apple Store to your iPhone. You need an Apple ID, and there can be a cost for the app, although many of the apps have a more basic free version with in-app purchases available. Now, the state of Michigan has a relatively new policy that limits apps to those that are in the COMP portal. And so those are apps that you can download. They fall into a few categories: travel apps, things related to productivity, similar to the kinds of productivity programs that you would be using on your computer, and things that you might use if you're attending conferences like Sched and Wova. So that these are apps that the state has indicated, have checked out, and they feel are safe. Now, oops, sorry. You have to have an Apple ID to download an app from the App Store. And the state used to provide employees with a state Apple ID, but they don't do that any longer. State employees the policy doesn't prohibit us from using our personal Apple ID number to download an app to your state phone. That being said, the state is not going to be able to provide any support for any apps that you download that are not in the COMP portal. So if you download something using your personal Apple ID and it causes a problem for your phone, they won't be able to help you fix it, and they probably will just remove it and possibly remove other data. So that's where the policy sits right now. We are, unless you use your personal Apple ID number, you're limited to the apps that are in the COMP portal. Now, there are resources that the state has, and you're probably familiar with the Bridge. That's available on SharePoint, and that's where you go for all kinds of tech support. So if you go to the Bridge, and you can see the home page of the bridge there, and you click on the box that says tech support, then go to hardware and devices and smart device support team, and that will bring you to this page. And this page is for smart devices. And under on the left side, you can see there is a area for client documentation. Now, and that right here is where you find the iPhone and iPad documentation. Now, this is where you're going to find documents that have been written by DTMB specialists related to problems that have been brought to them. When somebody calls with a problem, if it's a new issue that they haven't seen before, they will write up a document and then file that document on this page so that they and other specialists will be able to use those same documents. Now, they fall in under 7 different topic areas, everything from device setups down to Apple ID and iTunes questions. And within each one of those topic areas, the documents are listed alphabetically. Now, if you don't know what they're titled, it's kind of hard to find what document you're looking for. But this is a picture, a screen grab of how the general documents section looks on that page. And it gives you sort of an idea of what you can see there. Now, these are the documents that they will be referring to help you out. My understanding is that this whole page and the whole web area is going to be redone within the next couple of years, so that it will be much easier to find resources that you're looking for. It'll be searchable, but right now it isn't. And so you just kind of have to look to see what's there. And so if you do go to the page and look for some information, you want to watch out for the date of the document. It's always dated, and sometimes the documents were written quite a while ago. And so the information may or may not apply to the situation today. And if you ever have any doubt, you want to talk to the smart device team. And I've got the client service center is how you get through to that group. Now, when I asked, are there any trainings that are available through the state for using your iPhone? Because there's lots of trainings for how to use your computer and how to use Teams and how to use various programs on the computer. And I was told, no, there is no training currently within the state for how to use your phone. So I did some, and they suggested that there are some great things on the internet. So I did some research, and you're probably aware of GCF Global. This is a wonderful resource for training in a variety of different things. And they do have a whole series on how to work with your basic iPhone. And that will really help you to understand that. There also are quite a few good YouTube videos, and I've given you a couple of options here and links to those. Some people are better at just watching a video as opposed to going through a class, depending on how you how you happen to learn. That might be a good way for you. Another option is to take a course physically at an Apple store. They have classes all the time that talk about how to use your phone as well as how to use other Apple products. So if you are close to an Apple store, that can be a really good resource to be able to find out how to use your phone as far as basics, how it works and that sort of thing. So I'm going to stop for a minute and just see if there's any questions. Mike?
We have no questions at this time.
Okay. If you think of anything, be sure to put that in the Q&A area, and then we're going to move on. And we're going to look at built-in accommodations in your iPhone. Now, we saw the numbers of iPhones as compared to Androids, and so it's very likely that many of your clients have an iPhone. And when they're asking for various help with various things, there may already be something that is on their phone that would allow them to do the things that they need to do. There are many different areas that there are accommodations built into the iPhone. And so we're going to go through each area one at a time and talk a little bit about what is available there. And first, I want to tell you that I have handouts. I've made handouts so that you will not have to worry about getting this information down or anything. Everyone who registered, I've already emailed the handouts so that when we're done here, you'll be able to just go get it out of your email and have access to those handouts. So you don't have to worry about that. And so just sit back and listen and think about how each one of these utilities might be useful to one of your clients someday, or maybe tomorrow. So first, we're going to talk about speech. If your client has a speech disability or prefers to connect without using their voice, there's different innovations that give them more ways to communicate. The first is live speech. And this is where you type what you want to say and your device speaks it out. Basically, it makes the phone a speech generating device. So you can use live speech when you're face-to-face with someone, during phone calls and FaceTime calls. You can also save commonly used phrases so that you can respond more easily during different conversations. The next is personal voice. And this is the ability to create a voice on your device that sounds like you are using your own voice for your personal, and this is something that is available for personal non-commercial use. And the utility guides you through the process of reading a series of randomly chosen text prompts. And it takes about 15 minutes of audio. And then it takes a while, about overnight, to be able to process that audio and to make it into an actual voice. And so when you're using the live speech and the computer or the phone says something, it sounds like you are saying it. Now you're probably thinking, well, if someone has trouble speaking, how are they going to use this? I had a situation where a young man who was nonverbal and autistic had his older brother's voice put onto his device for being able to communicate. And having his brother's voice made it much easier, much better for him. He was much more comfortable with having that voice. So you can use that. It also is a situation where if you're working with someone like who may have ALS or something where they may be losing their voice, or they may be having surgery where their voice may be different, or they may need to use a device to help communicate after surgery, they can save their voice ahead of time and then it will be available. The voice is saved on the phone itself. It's not up in the cloud, so there's no issue about someone else taking your voice and using it to make you say things that you wouldn't normally say. So it's very well protected in that way. And it is a really interesting thing and could be very useful for some of our clients. Now, spoken content includes a whole collection of features that help your device read text out loud. When you use the speak screen, it reads everything that's on the screen, everything from top to bottom. But you can also do speak selection and then highlight and just hear a certain area of text. And to control the speed, the pace of the reading, you use the speech controller. Now, typing feedback gives you speech to tell you each letter that you type, so that if someone has needs to have some feedback as to when they are hitting the letters to make sure that they've hit the right ones, that can be very helpful. And you can also customize the pitch and have different preferred built-in voices, and of course use the personal voice if you've set that up. Next is messages, which on the phone is what text messages are. And with Apple, their text message utilities has some extra things that make it easier to use, and it's something that using the emojis, the stickers, the reactions is easy to do, and it gives it a lot more expressiveness when someone is texting to be able to communicate. You can quickly catch up on unread messages, just swiping to reply. And you can share photos and links and even your location. And any audio messages can be transcribed so that you can listen to them at a later time. And you can read them at a later time as well. Now, FaceTime is a great way to communicate, and it's especially important if you are relying on facial expression and gestures to get an understanding of what somebody is saying. It's especially useful for people who have hearing loss, and they may hear, but they also are getting a lot of information from facial expressions and from reading lips. So live speech integrates seamlessly into FaceTime, so that you can use the live speech and FaceTime at the same time. You just type your responses in and the device speaks them out to others who are on the call. And so this is an opportunity that we have to be able to communicate more effectively with our clients. Often when we can't meet face to face with someone, a client may not be comfortable on Zoom or on Teams, but if they have an iPhone, they probably have used FaceTime, and that may be a better way for you to be able to have that communication with them. Oh, and also you can, with FaceTime, you can talk to people who have an Android phone, as well as people who have an iPhone. So it's not limited to iPhone communication. Accessibility shortcut, it allows you to organize and customize features, accessibility features that you use the most in the control center or in system centers. What you do is you set it up so that you hit the side button and a triple click, or hitting the power button if you have an older iPhone will turn on a given accessibility feature, such as live speech or spoken content. So you don't have to leave the app you're using in order to get to that. So if you have a client who uses one accessibility thing a lot, being able to quickly turn it on is going to be really helpful. Now, Siri is something that the program is something that most people have some idea of what it is. It helps you with all kinds of things. You also can, if someone can't speak, to ask questions, you can type to Siri and type in your questions. You can to set up reminders and issue commands and do all kinds of things. You also can, with Siri, have Siri pause times so that you can adjust the amount of time and increase it that Siri waits before responding. So if somebody speaks slowly, or they still will be able to get their question in before Siri is trying to answer. The next is back tap. And back tap lets you double tap or triple tap the back of your iPhone to perform different custom tasks. You just tap on the back of the phone. And you can use it to start your favorite speech features like live speech or screen speak, and have that work a little quicker. Now, I will tell you, I was working with this and trying to use back tap when you have a case on your phone. I have a case on my phone here. Really had to hit it pretty hard. When I took the case off and tried it, it was much easier, much more responsive. So just be aware if you talk about that with a client that it's going to take a little more if they have a case on. And then switch control is I'm sorry. Yeah. Switch control makes it easy and efficient to control your device with a variety of adapted switches. And these are like game controllers, or even with different sounds. You can control your phone by clicking or tapping or saying a particular sound. Once you've trained that in, you can use it as an item, identify an item. It can point. You can do manual scanning to be able to navigate sequentially through on-screen keyboards, menus, and things like that. That's going to take a little bit of training to do, but it is something that is possible. And if you have somebody who can use that sort of feature, it's nice to know that it's already built in there. Okay, so now we're moving into vision. And if your client has low vision or just prefers larger text, there's some features that help customize their displays and control devices and help them navigate in their surroundings. One you're probably aware of is VoiceOver, and VoiceOver is the iPhone screen reader, and it tells you exactly what is going on your device. These auditory descriptions of elements help you to easily navigate your screen through simple gestures or the touch screen or even a Bluetooth keyboard. So VoiceOver can also describe people, objects, texts, and graphs in greater detail than in the past. And you can select and modify your favorite built-in voice for this speech feedback. Now, there also is VoiceOver with Braille, and this requires an additional purchase of a refreshable Braille display, but you can connect that through Bluetooth to your Apple device and then be able to have someone get the Braille input, have Braille input, Braille output related to VoiceOver. And there's more than 70 different refreshable Braille displays that are compatible with iOS. And so there's lots that you can find. As one of the handouts that I've sent to all of you, there is a list of compatible devices so that if you have a client who may need or may benefit from using Braille or some of the other things we'll talk about that are need to attach to or work with the phone, you'll have some information on that. Now, the next is Magnifier, and this is Magnifier works like a digital magnifying glass. It's like Magnifier on your computer as well. And it uses the camera on your iPhone to increase the size of any physical object you point at it, like a menu or a sign. I know I recently was talking to the people at the at IT trying to get some work on my computer, and they said, what's the number on the back? And it was so small. I was able to take my phone and make it much larger and be able to read off what that number was. So that's a really nice thing to know exists. You can also use the flash that's in the phone to light up the object. And there are filters that are available to try different colors or to be able to freeze a frame to get a good close-up of something you're trying to see. For those who need information about their physical surroundings, detection mode in Magnifier combines input from the camera and an LIDAR scanner, which is available on the models of iPhone that are listed here. And it uses on-device machine learning, and it will tell you information about your physical surroundings, like people detection, to determine how close you are to another person, door detection to help you navigate where there is a door and where there's text, and presence of symbols, so you could see where a restroom is and whether it's the men's restroom or the women's restroom. No smoking signs, accessible entrance symbols, things that they really need to be able to see. Image descriptions and text detection lets you hear more about people, objects, landscapes, and text in your camera's field of view. And point and speak identifies text on physical objects you point it to, such as the buttons on a household appliance or labels on files, and it reads them out loud so that you can perform everyday activities. So for iPhones that have the LiDAR scanner, it really is an exciting thing to be able to work with for somebody who needs that. Spoken content is a collection of features that enable your device to read text out loud. Now, we talked about that and in the last group, but with people who have vision issues, this is something that really can be very helpful for them, to have the computer or have the phone speak out loud what is on the screen so that they know what it is. The next is having display settings and text size. You can change the display to be able to make it so that you can see the way that you see best. And you can change those settings on an app by app basis in the operating system. So if you have one particular app that seems to be very bright, you can darken that one down and not change all of your other apps as well. There's also custom color settings where you can use filters, or you can invert the colors to see what makes it easiest to be able to see. You can increase the text size and have larger text or bold text that will help to make it easier to read the information. Now, the next one is dim flashing lights. Sometimes when you are pulling up a video or something like that, there are flashing lights, and those can be problematic for people who have vision issues and it makes it's hard for them to see. So this feature will dim down the video at the point where there are flashing lights automatically. And so that turning on that feature can make it much easier for people who are sensitive to flashing lights or to bright lights. And then pausing animated images. Some people are sensitive to rapid movement, and so you can automatically stop the motion in animated images, like GIFs or things you see when you're browsing online. Next is reducing motion, and reducing motion can just decrease the movement of on-screen elements for those who are motion sensitive. And it also it lessens a strain on the eyes trying to follow things. When you use this, some screen actions, such as moving between apps or launching apps, just become visually simpler. And you can apply the reduce motion setting only to the apps where it's a problem for you, and it doesn't have to be across the board. And zoom is something that is where you enlarge everything on the screen as opposed to just enlarging the text. And so that can be very helpful as well. Continuing on with vision, dictation lets you type by speaking, and it You tap the microphone button in the on-screen keyboard in any text field. When you're dictating, you can easily move between voice and touch. Both of them still work. So you can type with your keyboard, move your cursor, and then add quick type suggestions without needing to stop dictation. And dictation automatically punctuates your text with periods, commas, and question marks as you speak. Now, dark mode, it transforms every element on your screen into a darker color scheme to make reading easier. And light text against a darker background in apps like Mail, Safari, and Calendar make the text easier to read in low light. Siri is also useful for people who have vision problems, and you can ask Siri to find files, to set reminders, and turn on accessibility features. You can create a custom shortcuts to streamline a series of actions or tasks and run it by Siri. You can just say, Siri, read this when you're browsing a reader-compatible site in Safari. And you can make multiple requests back to back without having to say, Siri, do this, Siri, do that. You just have to say Siri once and then say, please do this and that and that. So he makes it easier. Next, talking about accommodations that are available for people with hearing issues. Exploring these tools are designed to enhance the sounds you hear or to help you stay connected if you can't hear any sounds at all. Now, live captions is Live Captions is a beta program. It's available only in iOS 16 and 17. But it is a really exciting one. These are the captions that can help everyone, including people who are deaf or hard of hearing. They offer real-time, on-device generated transcriptions of conversations. So you can follow along with auditory and visual media, including on your phone or FaceTime calls, as well as content on the web. And the Live Captions program is in the device, so you don't have to worry about what you're looking at being available off of your device. And it can also capture and caption in-person speech. So that this is something that will be very useful once it is more broadly available. When we're working with people who have hearing loss or have difficulty being able to hear what is going on, that's going to be a real game changer, I think. Personalized audio for AirPod Pro. AirPods Pro is a particular type of pod I'm blanking. And this works only with these devices, and so it requires an extra purchase. These allow you to stay connected in noisy environments, and what it does is it will give a conversation boost. And this allows the iPod Pro, when you have those in your ear, to have the phone to act as a microphone. And so you would put the phone in front of the person that you're talking to, and it will boost their conversation, helping you distinguish their speech from the background noise. It will help you to better engage with more people around you, and the function conversation awareness automatically lowers the volume of your audio and enhances the voice that's right in front of you while reducing the background noise. And personalized volume uses machine learning to understand environmental conditions and your listening preferences over time and automatically fine-tunes that media experience for you. So there are also made for iPhone hearing devices. And here is a list of some of these hearing aids that are designed to be made to work seamlessly with the iPhone. These accommodations let you customize your audio to best suit your hearing needs, and it will amplify soft sounds and adjust certain frequencies based on your preferences. And you get to go through a series of listening tests that help you set it up, and you can set up profiles within the phone so that when you're in a restaurant, you can use the restaurant profile. If you're in a theater, you can use that profile after it's been set up. But it works for the specific hearing aids that work with the iPhone. Now, there are also headphone accommodations that work with these particular headphones. And these are things that help you customize your audio. It amplifies soft sounds and adjusts certain frequencies based on your preferences. And you go through a series of listening tests to help you set it up and to set up different profiles. Now, sound recognition listens for certain sounds and uses on-device intelligence to notify when they're detected, so that these are sounds like the knock on a door or a doorbell, or the beeping of an appliance in your kitchen, so that it will then flash and let you know that that sound has happened. And you can also program unique sounds in your environment so that it will also identify when those things are going on. FaceTime is a tool for persons who have hearing loss because the high quality video and the fast frame rate allows you to communicate using sign language on the iPhone. And it can detect when you're using sign language in group FaceTime calls and automatically make you more prominent in that. Live captions in FaceTime can caption speech in one-on-one or group FaceTime calls with speech attribution, so you can easily track who's speaking during a group call. And so using FaceTime with your clients who may have hearing loss is a great way to be able to keep connected with them. Now, Live Listen requires some extra purchase, and this is an assistive listening feature that helps you have conversations in loud places. And you have to use either a made for iPhone hearing device or the wireless headphones. And turning on that feature allows you to reduce the background noise and hear conversations more clearly. Sensory alerts is a function that you can choose either a visual flash or vibration to let you know when there is an alert on your phone. Where normally the phone would beep, you get a different way to be able to tell those things. Things like new or sent mail or calendar events or new text messages. And so that's a great way for people to know what's going on their phone, even if they can't hear the alarms that are happening. And then real-time text is a function that you use your iPhone to make and receive these calls. The standard texting involves composing an entire message and tapping send, but real-time text provides instant transmission of a message as it is being composed, as well as using support for Braille displays. And so that it's sending the text as you are actually typing it. Live captions can also be used with real-time text to automatically display captions during a phone call. Transcripts for them are also saved in your call history. So those are some great ways for persons with hearing loss to be able to have additional connections on their phone. Closed captions are a text transcription that is displayed on the screen in sync with a video's dialogue and action. Now that's what you see on TV when you're watching and you can turn on closed captions. You can only turn on closed captions if they're in the video already. And they're available in movies and TV shows, and you can also see closed captions on your iPhone. Messages as your text messaging is a great way to be able to have communication with people who have a hearing loss. And Siri is accessible in Type to Siri to be able to ask questions by typing. Now, mobility is not just talking about people walking around, but if they are having some issues that relate to their ability to touch or have custom gestures or to control their devices physically, then there are some things that really can help. Voice control allows you to navigate your device using voice commands like click, swipe, and tap. And you can, and we've talked a little bit about this already. It provides a more efficient way to write and to edit. And if you have it in spelling mode, you can dictate names and addresses and even custom spelling, word by or letter by letter, and allows for corrections and format changes and a transition between the text dictation and commands. Now, voice control includes onboarding experiences with education to support so that you learn how to use the ins and outs very quickly. And it can be a really useful thing for some of our clients who have difficulty being able to control their devices. Switch control is similar in that it uses an added switch to be able to control the how you choose things on the screen through row column scanning. You can also use direct select using some hairlines to be able to identify what it is that you are actually wanting to choose that's on the screen. And platform switching helps you use a single device to navigate other devices that may be synced up with your iCloud account. And that way you can control, using your phone, you can control your Mac, your Apple Watch, or your iPad just from the phone once you get that set up. Assistive touch lets you adapt to your touch screen to fit your physical needs. If certain gestures like pinch or two-finger tap don't work for you, swap them out with a gesture that does work for you, or create a touch that's all your own. The custom layout for assistive touch menu and connect to a Bluetooth and a connection to a Bluetooth device to control on-screen pointer for navigation is a really strong tool for some of our clients. Alternative input has different ways that you can put information in. Tapping the screen or pressing and holding can be used as a switch for row column scanning. Head tracking uses the camera on your device to follow the movement of your head to control a pointer on your screen. And it tracks your facial movements to perform certain actions. And there is eye tracking with compatible devices, and this is for operating system 18.1 or newer, so only the newest ones. But they have eye tracking where a person is looking on screen and that can be tracked, and the pointer moves to follow their gaze, while extended eye contact performs an action. If I look at something for a long time, that dwell will then click it. So that's a really exciting thing for some of our more significantly involved clients. Back tap, which we talked about, is an easy way to turn on a specific thing that you may have been using. And Siri is a great way to be able to make things easier for people who have mobility challenges. Touch accommodations adjust how the screen responds to touch. It controls how long you have to touch something before it's recognized, or whether repeated touches are ignored. So if you have someone with a tremor and they may tend to bounce a little bit, it won't make every single bounce be considered a touch and to turn something on. That way, when you can put your finger down anywhere on the screen and move it to the item you want without selecting everything that's in the way as you go to get there. You can attach a hardware keyboard to an iPhone through Bluetooth, and then all the kinds of things that you can do to modify a keyboard access will be available for your iPhone as well. You can do slow keys to adjust the amount of time between when a key is pressed and when it is activated, so you have fewer mistakes. Sticky keys allow you to enter a key combination sequentially rather than simultaneously. If I need to capitalize something, I can hit Shift and then hit the letter and it will be capitalized. Mouse keys can control your pointer with numeric keypad on your iPhone. And then dictation is a very strong one that it is very helpful for people who have mobility issues, assuming that their speech is understandable. So if your client has difficulty with cognition, there are also apps that are available. Assistive access is probably the most exciting one. It can really lighten the cognitive load, and it can be made specific to the client. It offers a very distinctive interface with high contrast buttons, large text labels, and visual alternatives to text. And it provides a customized experience for some specific programs that come on the iPhone: phone, FaceTime, messages, camera, photos, and music. And visually, you can use a grid, or you can use a row-based if you have somebody who is able to manage text. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that in a minute. You can pause animated images for people who have difficulty with the motion. That is when an image makes a lot of motion. Live captions, which we talked about earlier, could be very beneficial for someone who has a cognitive issue as well as someone who has hearing issues. And background, by minimizing distractions, you can increase the sense of focus, and you can choose different kinds of balanced, bright or dark noises, and have that sound go continuously to play in the background and to mask some of the excess environmental noise. And when you have background sounds on, you can duck under those sounds to hear other kinds of audio or system sounds. If someone calls you or something, the background sounds go out. So that can be very useful for focus. Spoken content is where you identify on the screen what it is that you want to have the screen read. It's a screen reading program, definitely useful for people who have cognitive issues. And Safari Reader is within Safari for the web. When you're navigating the web, being able to have the interface visually be simplified and have the text be read aloud while you are in that in Safari, which makes it much more accessible for people who have cognitive issues. Now, touch accommodations changes the way that the touch screen works, and so that it makes it easier for people who have poor coordination to be able to use the touch screen. And guided access helps you to stay focused on a task. You can limit the device to stay on one app at a time by deactivating the home button or the gestures, by restricting touch input on certain areas of the screen so you don't inadvertently turn on something while you're trying to do something else. And that helps you to stay more focused. And there's a function called People Album. And this is where photos that you have taken, once you've identified somebody in a photo, it will identify all of the photos of that person by name. And so you'll be able to know who they are in the photo library. This is very useful for someone who has cognitive issues, but it's also something that could be useful for other kinds of memory issues, such as people who have had strokes and are having difficulty with some of the name finding. The iCloud Keychain is a utility which keeps track of passwords, card numbers, and usernames, and autofills information in. And it's through a password, and you can share that password with a trusted contact to make sure that you're still able to access it, even if your client may forget their password from every so often. Now, Find My is a utility that helps you find your lost device. And I know I've used that occasionally. You can share your device location with others in the Find My app. It also helps you find somebody in a crowded place. So that if they can't find you, you're able to find them. And so it can be a very useful opportunity. Dictation is something we've talked about and would be very beneficial for some persons who have cognitive limitations, as well as Siri being able to provide an opportunity to do some search for information without having to do a lot of input. Focus is where you're able to customize how you concentrate, and you have different areas like do not disturb, work, or sleep, and you silence device notifications that may disturb you in those moments. You can set it up so that certain people are able to still get through. So if you have a focus area for work, but you still want to be able to get messages from your boss, you can set it up that way. It really does help set up the device so that it keeps their focus. So I talked a little bit about assistive access, and this is something that makes it easier for people who have cognitive problems to be able to use their phone. And I did provide a step-by-step handout as to how to be able to do this, but it's an interesting thing, so I wanted to show it to you. The home screen can be set up in rows, such as this, where you actually have the text, or in the grid pattern, where you have a large icon, very small text. And so people who are much more visual are going to be able to have that kind of a setup. And you can customize the onboard apps. This is how it might look for the calls, making telephone calls, where you see the picture and the name of the person, and it's just a few things on the screen. Much easier to be able to handle. For camera, you would have a limited number of options and be able to set that up very easily. For messages, which is text, if somebody is able to use text and to read text, they have a text function, but we have some clients who really are not very functional with text. So we can do a just emoji only option and be able to let them respond to other texts with emojis. And there also is a way to be able to set up the music on the phone so that it's easily accessible. Now, it's important to realize you don't have to have all of these things in or used for any given client. And other programs or apps that you have on the phone will look like they normally do. It's only those ones that are set up, the calls, camera, messages, music, that are going to be enlarged. But those are probably things that are used pretty heavily by our clients. Are there any questions, Mike?
Hi, Claudette. This is Krista. There's only one
Krista.
question in there. Rochelle is asking, should I get an iPhone?
If you, I have no idea. And I'm assuming, Rochelle, that your state phone is an Android. And so the state does provide some Android phones, most are iPhones. And so as you're looking at this, you want to see, is this something that you would benefit from, as well as a tool for you to work with your clients? And that would be the justification for requesting an iPhone as opposed to an Android phone that you may have. As far as your personal phone, that's your choice. Okay, I wanted to talk about the benefits and limitations of apps as a job accommodation. And a lot of people have the idea, there was an old thing about there's an app for that. And there isn't always an app for that, but there are a lot of apps and there are a lot of things that it can be beneficial. Using your phone as an accommodation and apps that are on there is good because the phone is small, it's always available. There's a great, as you have seen, so many of the built-in utilities can be used to help people on the job. In the iPhone, one operating system builds on the next so that you don't lose track of the things that the way that you've done things before, and it makes it easy even as the device gets upgraded. And there's a lot of accommodations or accessories rather that can help to make the phone an even better kind of an accommodation. And it is very normal to have a phone. And so it's something that's highly accepted, as opposed to other kinds of accommodations that you may want to suggest for some of your clients. The phone is something that is highly accepted. Now, that being said, there are workplaces that do not allow their clients to have a phone. I had a situation where a person working as a CNA could not have a phone on their person while they were working. That was one of the job rules. And I wanted to use some of the accommodations built into the phone to allow her to do some things on her job. So it took some negotiating with the supervisor to change the rule for her so that she could have a phone. So you always want to be sure that it is allowable to have a phone on the workplace before you start considering using any accommodations that are in the phone. There's also some downsides to using them. Because of the small size, sometimes it's hard to see it and hard to manipulate for some of our clients. And let's face it, phones are something that it's easy to lose. You can drop them and they're easy to damage. And so you want to talk to your clients about, are you going to have a case? What kind of case, what kind of protection, where, and what are you going to do if and when the phone breaks and it's something that you've been using on the job, so that it's something that you need to talk about up front. Also, there is a cost, and both upfront and ongoing. And so talking to your client about how is this going to be paid for ongoing, because MRS will not always be there to be able to assist with these things, and there needs to be a plan to move forward. For iPhones, the cost of compatible accessories can be pretty high, especially ones that work with the iPhone and certain hearing aids. And so, you have to look at, it's not just the cost of the phone, but also if you need to have certain accessories. And anytime you have an add-on app, that app can change, or the company can go out of business, or it can be dropped by the company. So if you have a client who has really latched onto a particular app, and then the app is no longer available, will they be able to transfer that over to another app, the function? Now, that's not really an issue when we're talking about the built-in utilities, because those don't go away. So that's something to keep in mind. So in summary, the iPhone is a really amazing tool, and it's great for our customers on the job, and it's also something that we use constantly in our own work. And hopefully I've been able to give you some ideas as to how you can use that a little more effectively. I know I haven't gone into all of it, but I have provided some extensive handouts so that you'll be able to go in and find how to access some of the things that may have been some interest. The state of Michigan has limited the apps to those in the comp portal. And so you can choose to use your personal Apple ID to download apps from the App Store if you want. That's not against policy, but they're not going to be able to support it. And so I encourage you to become familiar with some of the accessibility apps that are already available on the iPhone, so you can demonstrate them to your customers and show your customers how they may work for them. Are there any questions?
I don't see any, Claudette.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and talk a little bit about it, iPhones and how you can use them. We do have a short survey that you can do on your phone. So pick up your phone and take use your camera to be able to look at the QR code, and it'll bring up the survey. And it's only a couple of questions. The feedback really helps us improve services to you. And if you have any specific questions, please feel free to contact me. I have sent out, I scheduled the handouts to be sent out during the presentation. If you don't receive them, please contact me, send me a quick email, and I'll make sure that you get a copy of them. And with that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.